everybody, and welcome to Horror Movie Yearbook. I am Tim.
I'm Willie.
Willie, we are back. We're going to be out of 1967. But you know what? I was happy to see our Spider Baby episode is doing numbers.
Oh, good.
All right.
That's
I'm
great.
always happy when the old ones.
That's great.
Really,
Well, you never know, like, what's gonna. It's funny because, like, Spider Baby doesn't seem like one that would resonate with people right now, but I don't know. You know, it's a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I'm happy people listen to that one. I like that episode. Yep. I like both of our 1967 episodes. So if you have not, check them out. You know what else you should check out, though? The Midwest Game Nerds.
Ah, the boys.
The Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered. And they're talking about The Last of Us as well.
The show,
yes, which I have seen and am still enjoying.
Good.
Despite all that's happened.
I played a lot of video games lately. I won't get too deep into it, but I played a ton of Smash Bros. Lately. Like a lot.
Was that what you sent to the Discord? Was that Smash Bros? Okay.
Yes. 33 hours of Smash Brothers.
Which Smash Brothers?
Ultimate, the Switch one.
Okay.
And there's a mode called World of Light.
Okay.
It's the adventure mode.
Uh-huh.
And it's huge. Like, it takes 30-some hours. Like, for me, it took 33 hours. And I 100% completed it.
Nice.
I never, when I started it, I was like, this is not gonna, I'm gonna get, like, unlock, like, a third of the characters and give up. No, I did it.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My go-to, my guy in that game, when I need to get out of I'm in a pickle, and I got to get through this challenge. I'm struggling. Is Donkey Kong all
DK?
day?
Yeah.
That's my dude.
Yeah, I can
my
see
dude,
that.
man.
He's old and reliable.
Yeah, he got me there. Good old DK. So thank you.
Are there any horror characters in the Smash Bros. Games? Horror.
Yeah. Okay. Ridley from Metroid. Kind of scary.
Yeah.
Dragon pterodactyl looking thing.
Yes.
So that would count, I think. Yeah,
okay.
that would be one.
I'd count
the
that.
piranha plant from Moreau.
Very scary.
It's playable.
Indeed.
Very scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's probably about it. I'm not. Yeah, I don't think anything else. Jigglypuff's pretty scary too.
Yes.
I mean, let's be
honest.
honest.
Sometimes, just thinking about Kirby is kind of scary as well.
Yeah, like, it can absorb your very essence.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So anyway, if you want to reach out to us, I think email is probably the best at this point. horrormovieyearbook@gmail.com.
Yeah, we got a fun spam email today. I think it's a spam email. Just hi with a PDF attached. I did not open the PDF.
Good. You've taken your yes, I see this now as well.
Weirdly enough, I got an email in my email today. Yeah. That was like from somebody with no like words. It was again a PDF, and I went, nah, I don't think so. So maybe that's the thing that's going on around right now. I'm not sure, but yeah.
So real quick, before we get into things, before we talk about the island of Dr. Moreau, which we will be talking about, I want to talk about someone who she played an important role in my film discovery in one of my favorite series. She passed away recently. Lar Park Lincoln.
Yes.
Your and I, probably our favorite horror series, I think.
Yeah.
It's Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Yep.
So she, of course, was in Friday the 13th, Part 7 as Tina.
One of the final girls.
Yes.
Yep.
She was also in House 2, The Second Story. I believe she did some Freddy's Nightmares. She did a couple of, she did a movie called 13 Fanboy a couple of years ago that I remember thinking was kind of fun. But what I remember her most from is, she did like Knots Landing. She was big in the Knots Landing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I remember her most from Friday the 13th, Part 7.
Yes, that was the big one. Yep.
Yeah, it was probably, so I think I've told this before, but I watched the Friday the 13th movies out of order. And
your first was 8, right?
Yeah, actually 7, 8, actually. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So it was a back-to-back of 7, 8. And so she was actually my, you know what? Actually, no, it was 8. But then we went and watched 7, 8. But
it really doesn't matter at a certain point. But, yeah.
But she, to me, like, when I think of Friday the 13th, she was my final girl. She was
Makes
like,
sense.
Yeah, she was my first like final girl because this was pre-Scream. This probably, if I had seen Halloween, it was like on TV and it didn't really connect with me. Like Lar Park Lincoln in that movie was the final girl to me because she was sweet because like she could move. It was like it was sold as Carrie versus Jason, but to me it was even like X-Men. It was like Jean Grey versus Jason.
Yeah. I always thought that too. It was more of like because she wasn't like she wasn't like a violent, villainous person. She felt more like a superhero.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just wanted and like this is like a role that maybe not everybody remember, but I think listeners of this podcast remember her as that, and it's a role that made an impact on me, and it's a movie that while has not grown to be one of my favorite movies in the series, it's one that I look back on fondly because it is the one that I like, one of the first ones I connected with, that and Jason Takes Manhattan. It's one of the ones that got me into my favorite horror series. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I always liked her performance in that movie. It's one of the movies in the series where I feel like it gets lost a little bit because people always talk about the schlockiness and the kind of not great, the kind of crummy quality of Manhattan and it being on a boat, or they talk about how great Part 6 is.
Mm-hmm.
But 7 kind of gets lost in the shuffle a little bit. And I think it's a better movie in the series as a whole than it gets credit for.
Yeah.
And I think that's in large part to the fact that I think that she is a strong female lead. And she's formidable against, not just because she has the telekinetic stuff, but like she has the performance is strong enough and she plays the character strong but vulnerable enough to make you invested in her. And we're coming off of obviously 3 movies of following Tommy Jarvis, right? So, which was the first character we really followed through multiple entries in this franchise, and for her to kind of stand out the way she did, despite it being a late era Paramount Friday the 13th movie, and coming out the heels of like a Jason Lives, I think it's pretty awesome. And I'm glad that she seems to have. She's involved in Crystal Lake Memories, the book, and the documentary. I know she'd attended conventions. Mm-hmm. She did
she did fan films.
Yep, she did some fan film stuff. She was in the 13 Fanboy movie. So she clearly had embraced her place in horror history and Friday the 13th history. And that always warms my heart to see, right? Because I think it's easy for actors or actresses to shy away from things like this that are considered kind of lowbrow, if you want to say that. So it's cool. No, I'm sad to hear that she passed. I was a fan of hers in that film for sure, and she'll be missed. Thoughts out to her friends and family, of course.
Yes.
She's a legend. She took down Jason with her mind.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And then resurrected her father out of
in really good condition. yeah, impressively good condition.
Yes.
There was actually
her performance overcame the MPAA cutting that movie to shreds.
Yes.
Yes. I think that's another thing that gets thrown at
it
that movie.
It hurts that movie a bit. Yeah.
What were you saying though? Sorry.
No, there was it's the MPA thing. There was another version of her dad coming out of the lake that was more zombified and kind of scary looking. But
you can't have that.
The studio, I think, said somebody at the studio was like, "Who is that?" It's like, so they really no, you got to get the actor, and then okay, sure. He's the most well-kept man who was buried at the bottom of a lake I've ever seen.
I will say this about the current. It reminds me of the current season of Last of Us. These people have really nice hair right now. Everybody's very well made up right now, so good for them. That reminds me of this guy on the bottom of the lake of Crystal Lake. Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe they have the same stylist.
Yes. I'll give it to Walking Dead. Most of the time, they look pretty disheveled.
Walking Dead. I think we talked about it a little bit. It's also one of the sweatiest, grimiest shows ever put on TV, and I think the Atlanta setting works for that as well. Like the South setting works very well for that because they are dirty and grimy a lot. So
that's what the cast members of Lost probably should have looked like.
Right. Oh, Lost, they did look pretty well put together, didn't they?
Yeah. Unless the character was under duress for a 3-episode arc, and then they were made sure they really.
But Sawyer would just get kind of muddy.
Yeah, he was still very suave. Yes.
He's got a new show coming out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I always liked him.
On Max, it's a J.J. Abrams show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it's I don't know, he's like a private dick or something. I
always wanted to see him in more stuff.
Yeah, he was in a show I liked quite a bit called Colony that was on.
Yeah, Colony.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So, hey, let's get in this time machine.
Yes.
Yeah. Before we start talking about Colony too much.
Yeah. Well, hey, don't get me started on Colony. We are headed back to 1990.
August 23rd, 1996.
Great year. Great year.
Yes.
Yeah.
You ready to hit me with what's a good time machine noise for the island of Dr.
Oh,
Crow?
my gosh. There's so many choices, right? So many options.
Do the David Thewlis him?
That's really good. That's a good option. I was going to try and make a Brando sound. He doesn't really make a lot of sounds in this movie.
No, he doesn't, unless it's maybe snoring in some takes.
Right. I was going to do like the hyena, like the like the hyena sound. That was my hyena laugh.
So there's our time machine noise.
Yes.
You know what? Real quick, let's go through the box office and songs because this is 1996. So the top 10.
I'm 10, you're 12.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. I was thinking of the date, but yeah. All right. Top 10 movies at the box office this week.
Oh, man.
Number 10, Escape from L.A.
Dang.
Which would, I think, it is its third week, and it's still hanging in the top 10, but it is not doing well.
Sure.
A
movie I've warmed on over the years.
Yeah, I like Escape from L.A. quite a bit.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Number 9, a movie I think we both like, and I know fellow Midwest Podcast Network host loves Solo.
Wait, what?
Solo, right?
Solo?
The Kurt Russell Solo.
What is that?
Whoa. Am I thinking of... No.
I'm thinking of Soldier.
I'm thinking of Soldier. Solo is Mario Van Peebles. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm thinking of... Well, maybe
I was
Nick...
like, Kurt Russell, so what is that?
So maybe Nick likes Solo as well.
He might.
Oh, Solo... if I showed him this picture of Mario Van Peebles as Solo with with a sigh...
What's not to like? Yeah, Nick, write in if you've
seen
Solo,
yes,
and if you like it.
Number 8, Emma, which I believe is a Gwyneth Paltrow movie.
I think so. It's a Jane Austen thing.
Yeah, I think
right?
it's a Jane Austen. Yes,
those were getting big around that time.
Yeah, because there was a Pride and Prejudice around this time too, right?
Yeah.
The Fan, number 7. This is, I believe, is the De Niro and Wesley Snipes. Tony Scott.
I think so. I think it's Tony. It's all right. I actually don't dislike this movie.
Yeah, this movie. It's okay.
It feels like an offshoot of like those 90s
domestic thrillers. Yeah,
but like with a twist of it being like more it's less romantic or less sexual, and it's more like
it is Tony Scott.
I mean, there's some sexual tension between De Niro and Snipes, no question. Yeah, no question.
You know, I kind of there's a part of me that like if I ever see this and I got some time, I might want to throw this one on.
You would,
yeah. I kind of like it. I kind of want to see it. Yeah. There's a movie called Big Fan with Patton Oswalt that was like really, really good. But The Fan. Independence Day is I think in like its 8th week. Yeah,
that movie blew up.
I saw Independence Day like 3 or 4 times in theaters. I loved that movie.
Okay, yeah. I did see it in theaters for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fun. Yeah.
Yes.
Fun movie.
It's been a while since I watched it. Number 5, Jack, which I believe is the Robin Williams movie. Like he's a kid, right?
Ages backwards or something.
I do not like this movie. I think.
I don't know. I've ever seen it.
I think I watched this movie when it came out. I do not remember liking it.
I remember this one and Patch Adams being like back to back Robin Williams vehicles.
Yes.
And Patch Adams being pretty good overall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kind of schmaltzy in some moments, but yeah.
Number 4, I believe Joel Schumacher, who I believe may come up later in our discussion a little bit. A Time to Kill.
Great film.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah, that one holds up.
Number 3, a very Brady sequel. This is the one where they go to Hawaii. What's my man's name? Gary Cole?
Yeah.
Those two movies are like some of the best performances in not very good movies. Like, is it like a comedic performance? I think he's incredible in those movies.
The first Brady Bunch movie is really funny.
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot about the sequel, if I'm being honest.
I watched it a bunch when I was younger.
Okay.
But
yeah.
They go to Hawaii. It's like Hawaii, and then they find the amulet thing, like the little thing.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah.
This is where they introduce.
It,
like I think there's a long lost, or maybe that's Addams Family. Now I'm getting them confused.
That's another one. The first one's really good. The second one I was kind of like, it's all right.
Yeah. Addams Family Values.
Yeah.
Values had the MC Hammer song though.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Right? Or did they both?
No, don't.
I don't know.
I can't remember.
Number 2, Tin Cup. This is the one of Costner's sports movies. I love Tin Cup. I love Costner sports movies for the most part, yeah.
Did you know I've never seen a Costner sports movie?
Oh.
I'd never seen Field of Dreams.
Well, you are a recent NFL fan. Or I won't say recent, but you are.
I've gotten more. Yeah, I've in the last 2 years, I've been way more into it.
You might like Draft Day, is all I'm trying to say. It came out recently. It's a recent.
Who else is in that?
Oh, is Chadwick
No,
Boseman?
I've not seen it. Never mind. I have not seen it.
Okay.
I've seen Moneyball.
Okay, Moneyball's good. Yeah,
I like that movie.
Moneyball's quite good.
That was a baseball movie.
Oh no. Well, so it's Costner, Jennifer Gardner, and then we get real problematic quick. Chadwick Boseman, Diddy, and Frank Langella are in it. So maybe just
Man,
I forgot Diddy was in this one.
yeah. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, oh my god, Get Him to the Greek is now the most problematic.
Oh my gosh,
thing.
yeah, and like what's his name? Who if I recall correctly, it had some stuff. I don't know. He had some stuff, but like he's kind of a dick. Not Russell Brand.
Jonah Hill,
but like he's like the least of the. Issues with that.
yeah. Kind of incredible.
And then the number 1 movie in America, but also a bomb, is the movie we're about to talk about.
My word, this was the number 1.
Yeah.
All right.
So
boy, it fell off.
I should have said, okay, let me, oh my God. Let me do the songs real quick. Sorry, what were you going to say?
No, nothing. I just, that it must have fallen off like crazy.
Well, it only made $9 million. This was a very slow week at the bottom. Because
Okay.
even Tin Cup at number 2 was in its second week.
And it dropped a bunch.
Yeah, so we're at the end of summer too, like August, so we're kind of in the dumping grounds a little bit.
What a weird release date for this movie too.
Right.
I don't know when you release it.
I kind of think that's what they were thinking is like end of summer, let's see what happens.
Give it a shot.
Yeah. The number 10 song, we're driving to the theater now, listen to the radio.
All right, good.
Give Me One Reason by Tracy Chapman.
I like that song.
Me too.
I like Tracy Chapman.
Oh, this is a song. Number 9, How Do You Want It by Tupac and Casey and JoJo. How do you want it? How does it feel? I'm not going to sing the rest of it.
I don't know that song.
I can't sing the rest of it.
No.
Oh, I know that song. I know that video too. Number 8, R. Kelly, I Can't Sleep, Baby. Let's move on. We've already had our issues.
Problematic people on this.
Number 7, Eric Clapton, Change the World.
If I could change.
That was from a movie or something around this time.
Probably Tin Cup. Yeah, it's fine. I don't know. I'm not a big Clapton guy.
No, me neither. Yeah, I'm not a Clapton guy. Number 6, You're Making Me High, Tony Braxton. Here's what I remember about this Tony Braxton video. The video, there's a part, she's wearing like a deep V kind of, like a jumpsuit, and the wind flaps it open, and it does it on purpose, and you can kind of see almost a little bit.
Some tasteful side boob.
Tony knew what she was doing there. Number 5, shout out to my brother who owned this album, and it had this song on it 4 or 5 times, just different remixes. Come on, Ride the Train by the Quad City DJs.
Come on, ride the train. What was the soundtrack?
Oh no, it was he owned the album.
Just the album. Okay.
Yes, he owned the album, and it was like 12 songs, and 4 of them were this song.
That makes sense.
They also did the Space Jam song though, so they weren't
Space Jam. Oh my God, yeah. Wow.
Number 4, an album I had. I was a fan of this gentleman, Keith Sweat, Twisted. Always sounded like he had his nose plugged a little bit.
Man.
You got me twisted, oh, you got me twisted, babe.
I don't know if I know this.
Another album I owned here,
Nice.
LL Cool J, Loungin'. This was from the Doing It, the one that had Doing It. You remember Doing It?
No, I didn't listen to rap. So
okay.
Yeah,
so
so
you're
like you mentioned like the Tupac song. Like I had never. Yeah,
I was big into
rap. Was like basically not allowed in my house. Like
Yeah.
they were like, nah, not listen to rap.
This was around the time I think my parents were like, you can buy your own CDs, because the Tupac CD was the first one I bought with my own money, and I had to go to like the record store in town. We had like a CD store in town because the only other choice I had was Walmart, and Walmart sold the censored CDs, and I did not want to get a Tupac censored CD. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, my parents were not rap fans, and so like they were. I was able to pivot to like the metal thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they could deal with that because even though there was a lot of screaming and stuff, like at least it was more like a rock sound.
Yeah.
So that was where I drifted to instead of like the rap hip hop stuff.
Yep. Yeah. And I had like my friend group around that time was more into like, they were like super into Bone Thugs.
Ah,
yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a good Bone Thugs song though that click, click.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that song's so sweet. God, that
both
song rules.
Like mid to late 90s, both dogs.
Unbelievable.
Number 2, I Love You Always Forever by Donna Lewis. I love you always forever, near and far.
I know this song.
Yep.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't like it. But I remember the song.
And the number 1 song in America, which I believe was the number 1 song in America for most of 1996, the Macarena by Los Del Rios.
Okay, yeah.
The Bayside Boys mix is what
Did
this
you
was.
ever do the Macarena?
Oh, I'm sure I did. This would have been the time I've been going to like dances too. Like,
yeah. Oh,
like
yeah.
my first dances
I
and
wasn't
stuff.
quite there yet. By the time I hit like the middle school, the Macarena kind of burnt out, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
I can tell you for sure I did the Macarena. I can tell you where and when and why, but I won't.
Okay. It's quite the tease.
It was in a bowling alley parking lot. Just after an Elvis impersonator got off stage.
Okay.
And the DJ took the stage.
Was this? I missed the. Was this around the time the Macarena was out?
Yes.
Okay.
This was the first ever Dream Cruise.
The first ever Dream Cruise. Oh, I thought it went back farther.
No.
Interesting. Okay.
No. And they played the Macarena in the bowling alley parking lot, and I Macarena'd. I Macarena'd?
I think Macarena.
Macarena'd?
Yeah.
I did, with the best of them.
Those two guys were like old dudes too.
They were like career musicians for years.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm assuming that they had some success. You know, at least like they could make a living, but they were not what they became.
No.
And then the Macarena like blew up.
Yeah.
And they never had to work again. It's fantastic.
No, that song was like, I was not joking. That song was number 1 for most of the year. Like if Titanic came out this year, I can't remember if it did, and then that song took over. It basically went this song into the Titanic song, I believe, and those were the number 1 songs.
Macarena was still like on there.
Yes.
Yeah. It was still notable. So like,
why were we so crazy about that? I don't know.
I don't know. We were white people were in need of a new
like a dance?
easy to dance to song.
Yeah,
I think so. They never got the Cuban Shuffle, really. I don't think white people ever fully understood
Was the train was not about riding a train, was it?
I hope not.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Never mind. We're moving on. Do you remember the song? I just funny enough, we're gonna move on here. I don't want to spend too long on this, but do you remember the song by Gotye or Gotye?
Oh, Gotye? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. What was that one called? What song are you talking about?
It was the
his only song that I don't.
Didn't have to cut me.
Yeah.
That dude never made anything again.
Okay.
How awesome is that? That song was so popular for such a decent period. Like the guy never he's done.
He's like the white boy Macarena.
So sweet.
Okay.
Like, is that not the goal?
Yeah, I would say so.
If you were a musician and your goal was like I want to be
live forever. Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to just like make a song that blew up that big and then just like would you keep trying to make songs that were that big? No.
What about Lou Bega? Like Lou Bega, what does Lou Bega do right now? Mambo
He's
number 5.
doing great.
He probably shows up.
Men?
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah,
they're
probably
fine.
They show up like someone pays a bunch of money at some place to do the reunion Baja Man. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, because you don't really have to tour the rest of the year.
No, you don't have to write anything anymore.
No, you don't have to worry about like bandmates that you don't get along with.
No,
because you made like one album.
If you still want to make music, but like you don't have to worry about like getting it released. Like who cares? That sounds like the dream to me.
The dream and something like there's a part of me now that like wants to go back and like see if like Lou Bega has or like the Los Del Rios guys are like Gotye has released any new music since then, and like I want to see if it's any good.
Yeah.
See if like now they've started doing their passion projects and stuff. Like Andre, this is not a one hit wonder.
Different beast, but still.
Andre 3000 from Outkast has started making flute albums. He just does the flute.
Thing. Yeah.
It's like what he loves doing.
It's fantastic.
Yes.
Like I'm happy for him.
But he doesn't need to. Like he doesn't need to do anything else ever.
That's just a passion thing.
Yes.
Yeah, good for him.
Speaking of passion things.
Oh boy.
This actually was someone's passion project.
It was.
And this is a passion project gone awry.
Yeah.
All right, so this is The Island of Dr. Moreau. It came out in 1996. After being rescued and brought to an island, a man discovers that its inhabitants are experimental animals being turned into strange-looking humans, all of it the work of a visionary doctor. This is directed by John Frankenheimer and Richard Stanley.
For 4 days, Richard Stanley.
It's written by Richard Stanley, Ron Hutchison, and then H.G. Wells gets a credit. I'm sure he was proud of that, or I think he'd passed by this point. I'm sure, but if he's looking down and like a proud papa
and smiling.
at the making. Yes. You know what? He might be like.
He probably thought it was hilarious.
He probably looked down and went, "Told you, like I've got a curse on this." This stars.
I placed a curse.
Well, you know what? There were people placing curses on this production.
Yes, there were. My God, dude.
This stars David Thewlis, Marlon Brando, Val Kilmer, the wonderful Fairuza Balk, who I forgot was in this.
Love her.
I was happy to see it. I think Ron Perlman is in this.
He is.
Tamura Morrison is running around. Mark Dacascos.
He is.
What's my man's name? The star of the show here.
There's so many stars. It's hard to say.
I am talking about Mr. Nelson De La Rosa.
Nelson.
There is a shot in this movie.
Sure.
There's
a lot of shots.
Nelson
Which
De La
one?
Rosa, he's the little person that...
the world's smallest man at the time.
The world's smallest man that I believe Marlon Brando demanded be with him at all times.
Yes. So, yeah. Large swaths of the film were retooled because Marlon became infatuated with this little fellow.
Nelson De La Rosa.
Correct.
Yes.
They built a tiny piano so he could be featured in the scene with the piano.
There is a shot, I think it was with Val Kilmer and David Thewlis, and they're like in the jungle, in the woods, and they're on a truck, and it is maybe the most obvious, like, not real, like, stuffed animal-looking person. Like, it's just like... It's Nelson De La Rosa, but it's not moving at all.
Yeah, sure. It's just like stagnant.
Yes. It's just sitting there going like, hey, cut away from this.
Like, why is it even in the frame?
And who's the answer? Because I don't know. All right, how do you want to tackle this beast?
I don't know.
All right, let's talk about our thoughts on the
Let's start by saying we're speaking about this because of the recent passing of Val Kilmer.
Oh, yes.
An actor we both like a lot.
Yes.
We recognize this is not Val's most prestigious work, perhaps, or most beloved work. However, we will make sure we make some time for Val at the end. And quite frankly, there's not a lot of horror in Val's filmography.
We could have gone,
we could have gone Ghost in the Darkness.
And some of the later stuff, we could have done Twixt.
No, we couldn't, because I can't watch it. Thank you for throwing it out there, but no.
He did some later stuff that we're not gonna watch.
Sure.
It's like
Mind
trash.
Hunters.
Yeah. We could have done. That's the Reddy Harlan one, right?
Yeah, that would be good. Actually.
No, this is Ghost in Darkness. Red Planet, not really, right? That's more sci-fi.
Yeah, but anyway, we will be. Yeah, this is our tribute to you, Val.
So here's the deal, and I want to preface. We should preface this.
Yes,
we're going to speak about the movie and some of the stuff that was going on with Val at the time. But we will do a proper tribute to Val at the end of our discussion.
I want to make sure that the audience knows we're not going to crap on Val Kilmer, because I think it's safe to say we are both fans of Val Kilmer.
And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not going to crap on him too much during this movie.
No, I'm not either.
Because this movie and the behind-the-scenes stories behind this movie, Val brought me so much joy.
Yes.
During the
It's a miracle he survived the making of this movie, to be honest with you.
So,
anywho,
I'll start here. I had seen. So, okay, this is one of the first movies that I remember hearing awful buzz about as it's like a young film watcher. Like I was starting to watch more movies at the time. Like, this is when I was starting to go to movies in the theater. I liked Val Kilmer at the time because I was a fan of his. I was a Top Gun fan as a kid, but I liked Batman Forever quite a bit. I liked his Batman. I went and saw The Saint in theaters because I like Val Kilmer quite a bit. So this is one of the first times I remember major normie, if you will, publications and TV shows like Entertainment Weekly and Entertainment Tonight talking about bad buzz on a movie.
It was widespread.
Yes.
During production, people there were public magazines and stuff writing articles about this is going south.
This is a debacle.
But the thing was, they went through so many actors in the beginning, right? So before they even started shooting, it was an issue,
right?
Because it was they shuffled out. Bruce Willis was attached at one point, and then he was going through the divorce with Demi Moore.
Yeah,
and he dropped, and then they shifted James Woods into a role, and then Kilmer jumped on board.
What role was James Woods going to play?
So the original cast was, it was always Brando, okay. Bruce Willis was going to play the castaway. James Woods was going to play Montgomery, which was the role that eventually went to Val Kilmer.
Okay.
Willis dropped out because of the Demi Moore stuff. He was dealing with some other stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
James Woods was still there. They took the guy from. I'm sorry, no. They got Val Kilmer as the castaway.
Yes.
Val Kilmer goes, I want to shoot 40% less days than what you're asking me to shoot. So Val Kilmer took over James Woods' role.
And Woods was just kind of
busted. Then they cast the guy from Northern Exposure as the castaway.
Oh, he is in the documentary. Lost
Correct.
Souls.
He shot
yeah.
stuff.
Yes. Okay. Yep.
Then he was on set basically as long as the initial director and went, I need to go. And begged Bob Shea to please let me out of my contract. Then he left, and then David Thewlis was brought in. Yes. And then Fairuza Balk also left. But then basically was told you have to come back.
You have to, like, the lawyer. They sent the lawyers after her, right?
You like how the Mal actor got away with it.
Yes,
but Fairuza couldn't.
Yeah,
is that surprising?
No, it isn't. And
no.
like I was thinking about
some political stuff.
Political stuff. I guess he may have had a little bit more sway because he had been on TV for a little bit longer.
He was the
bigger of
Northern
the two.
Exposure was a big show.
But you're right. There are definitely some sexual politics at play.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so.
Sorry.
No. But honestly, so I didn't hear all of that, but I remember like Val Kilmer's name was being tossed in the mud quite a bit around this time, and Brando had become a joke. Like I did not recognize as a 12-year-old he was kind of fat Marlon Brando at the time. And
that's all we knew him as, right?
Yeah, because I didn't watch like Rebel Without a Cause or anything like that. Yeah, like I was like, oh, that's for Fat Marlon Brando. I believe did John Travolta do an impression of him, like a really mean impression of him on like Saturday Night Live or something?
I would not be shocked
because I kind of remember that, and like I remember like and then like the movie, but like this would have been a movie I would have been kind of into at the time. Because this came out around the time of like the Science Gone Wrong boom of the 90s.
Yes, I like these movies.
Yeah, I do too. Like, Species, Jurassic Park is the big one. Most of the stuff came out of it.
Congo,
Mimic is a little bit like that.
Yes.
So this is very much in line with those, and like, so there was still a part of me that I'm like, I'm kind of excited to see this, and I'm sure I watched it on like HBO when it came out, or maybe even rented it with like my parents, and I
think I rented a VHS.
Yeah, and like I watched it, and like I did not remember much about this movie when I sat down to rewatch it again.
Is this the first time since that?
I believe so. I believe anything else I've seen since has just been reading about it. Part of the reason I wanted to do this too is because when you brought up doing a Val Kilmer movie, I had not seen Lost Soul, and I like Richard Stanley's other work.
Yes.
And he just did a movie too. He came back a few years ago, did a movie with Nick Cage. It's like a Lovecraft movie called Color Out of Space. And it was one of my favorite movies of that year. And I thought it was fantastic. And I think it's one of the best Lovecraft inspired adaptations, whatever, like I've ever seen. Like I'm happy he got to do that.
I've heard nothing but good things about
yes. And I'm happy he got to work with someone like Nick Cage, who I think is on the same wavelength as him in a lot of ways. as I sat down and watched Lost Soul,
yes.
I went, oh, I can see how he was just overwhelmed and clashed with a personality type like Val Kilmer.
Those two vibed, I'm sure, Nicolas Cage and Richard Stanley.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Those two seem like people that are absolutely.
They were like, let's go do peyote after this shoot.
Yes, let's go. Remember when Nick Cage was doing Ghost Rider, and he and the directors of the Ghost Rider movies went to the second Ghost Rider movie, actually, not the first one. They went to
he
cemeteries.
based it on the snake.
Yeah, they got drunk at cemeteries, and he told them he was going to base Johnny Blaze's moves on a cobra.
His pet cobra.
His pet cobra. Anyway, sorry.
Which is incredible.
So Richard Stanley is very much like that.
Yeah. No, they for sure did drugs together. No question. Yeah.
So I did not remember this movie, and as I was watching it this time, I was sitting there going like, okay, this is a mess. I know it's a mess, so it's hard for me to divorce like my knowledge at this point of this movie. But I'm definitely entertained by it. The peak for me is at the end of the middle portion of the movie. I hesitate to call anything an act in this movie because there is no structure to it.
No, it's just things happening. Seriously, yeah.
But after Brando and Kilmer kind of. I think it's right after Kilmer like buries Brando for being fat. Basically, like he does his impression of. It's his second impression of Brando, where he's wearing like the fat suit and stuff.
That's yes.
And he's just flat out like you could tell he's just doing an impression of Brando because he's annoyed by him in real life. And after that, as it heads into the finale, like that's where the movie kind of loses me. But like the middle portion is such an insane fever dream. And I texted you this too. Like this is the type of movie that only like super talented people can get together and make and have it just completely go off the rails.
Yeah, it's a rare beast.
Yeah, because the Winston effects help too. Because I think the Stan Winston practical effects, like the makeup and stuff, is really good. I like it a lot.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
The digital effects fucking suck.
Luckily, they're used pretty sparingly.
Yeah.
But boy, are they bad.
Even for movies of this time, I think they are awful.
I'm reminded of Alien 3.
Yeah.
And some of the shots of that alien like running and going, whoa, that is like
this is Mortal Kombat Annihilation level.
it is that bad. Yeah.
So anyway, to sum up my very long feelings, and then I'll let you tell yours.
Sure.
I certainly enjoyed the experience. I don't know what to tell you. I think this is worth watching and then going to find that documentary about it. Like I think this is a great experience. Is watch the movie, watch the documentary, which is free, and enjoy the show.
The documentary existing has actually made me retroactively enjoy the movie more.
Yeah.
I never hated this movie. I'll be honest with you. Like I never hated it. I always thought it was just weird. Like even as a kid when I saw it, I was like, this is weird. Like I don't think I like this, but like it stuck with me in some ways. I think the effects had a huge part to play in that. And just the weirdness of it, like, watching it now, and I've seen it a couple times throughout my lifetime, maybe 2 or 3. Why, I don't know. But
Are you a fan of the book?
I've never read the book.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I've not read a lot of H.G. Wells. I've read War of the Worlds at some point.
I was just curious. It kind of seems up your alley, knowing you like Crichton stuff, and like you like science fiction.
I would probably like the book. I think I don't.
I listened to it. It's a really listening to it was like a 3 hours because I listened a little bit longer.
It's brisk.
Yeah. It's like a super easy read too. Yeah,
I'll have to check it out at some point.
Super straightforward.
But I like Lord of the Flies a lot, so
yes,
that's kind of Anyway, so it's funny now as an adult being able to kind of pinpoint why as a kid I won't even say like I didn't enjoy it was never a movie where I was like this is great, but it always kind of stuck with me, and there were sequences in the movie that stuck with me, and I think it's just because quite frankly it is such an aimless film. There's really not a message here. There's not a theme. There's not really even a plot. It's just stuff happening.
It's just like
guys on the island, and there's a scientist that made animal people.
There's a little bit about man playing God.
Sure, but I
think if Stanley were on it from the beginning, or even Frankenheimer were on it from the beginning, working with a script, like they could have hammered in what they were going for.
It's either said like the theme is either try to beat you over the head with it with using the Ron Perlman character, the Sayer of the Law.
Yeah.
Towards the end, especially, it's funny because they try to tell you this is what you should feel at the end of the movie, like as he's sailing away, like they try to tell you this is the point of what you just watched.
Right.
But then the whole time I'm going, that was the point. I just watched a weird Val Kilmer performance where he's on shrooms and like participating in weird animal people orgies, maybe.
Yeah.
What is
and then
this
feeding?
movie?
He's feeding with his tongue, right? Yeah.
It's so weird. And there's just stuff happening, right? There's but it's because there was no control on the set. Honestly, that's what makes the documentary existing now so much fun in terms of watching these two, as you said, back to back as a kind of a double feature. And I do say watch the movie first and documentary second.
Yes, I would say that too.
I think you do both ways if you wanted to, but I think the documentary second, take a moment, make yourself a little something to eat, and then sit down and watch the documentary after you finish the movie. Because
treat it like a special feature on a DVD.
Yes, because you'll have a good time, I think, and you'll go, "Wow, now I get this."
Yeah. And who knows? You might actually you sit down and watch a movie without as much outside influence as possible. Like you may actually sit down and watch it and go, "Oh, that wasn't that bad."
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's it's not a good movie, but considering what we know now, the full scope of kind of what happened, it's impressive that it exists in any sort of actual finished form.
Right.
The fact they didn't pull the plug on the thing and just take some sort of tax break or something, that'd be some loophole they could get through.
Well, Shay mentions
claim or something.
Shay mentions in the documentary, you know what? We finished the movie, we put it out there. It didn't make a lot of money, but it made more money than we would have if we didn't.
Right.
Release it. So
good for him.
This is pre-streaming era. This is pre-WBD. Just shelving. This is not Batgirl. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yes. Anyway, so what a movie. Not good. But fascinating performances, really cool practical effects, and kind of the ultimate, I don't want to say warning, but the ultimate, example of, I think young directors and newer directors are more guided by studios now.
Yeah.
If you look at the Marvel stuff, a lot of the directors, Thunderbolts is coming out this weekend or this week. I've never heard of Jake Schreier. He's the director. I'll be honest, I'm sure he's done stuff. I have no doubt. But he's not an established director like a Sam Raimi who did Doctor Strange, or like James Gunn, who had
I even think you could go back to Sam Raimi to make the point too. Sam Raimi going into Spider-Man. I guess he had more experience.
He had a little more clout than I think this guy certainly has.
Yep.
But there's the directors of the first Captain Marvel movie, I remember going, I don't know who these people are. There's a lot of instances of that. They're more guided now on these big studio pictures than they were back when this movie came out. I think this movie has a lot to do with why.
I think this is a lesson learned, hopefully, for some.
Yes.
Because when you have as much money invested in a movie like this, because this was a big-ish movie at the time, and Richard Stanley is he's a unique character in a lot of ways. You're right. He's a very artistic guy. He may not mesh well with the business side of things. These people, Bob Shea, Mike DeLuca, all these people, they probably don't have the same mindset as him. In fact, I would say, but your goal should be as a producer is to shepherd him, to kind of coax him, to kind of coach him into making the best movie possible.
And no one did that for him.
Yes, so that you can make money. That's the goal here, and they did not do that.
No, I always think of Cop Car, the guy who did the Spider-Man movies.
John Watts, yeah.
Cop Car, like it or not, whatever. However, this is a good example. This is a guy who made an indie movie that kind of, became kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And had some buzz, and then all of a sudden it's like, you're making a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
The difference now versus then is that things were planned for him, and he had guiding.
Yes.
So it's. I wonder how much, because I can't think of other movies that really fit the example that Moreau does in terms of the scale of the failure. When you're bringing in this young director and putting them on this project, I can't think of another one like this. On this scale, in terms of
what about Trank and Fantastic Four as a recent example?
That's a good one. Yep.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Yep, that's good. I'm glad you brought that up.
That's similar.
Very similar. Yep.
Yeah,
there's not many.
Off the top of my head, I can't. I'm sure they're probably, but off the top of my head, that's the only one.
It's hard to think of them. Yeah. So this is. I wonder if this was a bit of a. I could see this being a bit of a, and probably not in a good way. Studios shying away from hiring lesser known filmmakers to direct studio pictures.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway.
All right. So,
oh man,
to talk about this, I figure we've already talked a little bit about it. I don't know, just name someone involved in this movie. Let's talk about them. And we're going to talk a little bit about Lost Soul, I think, quite a bit in this. So I just want to say that, like, a lot of our thoughts on this movie are probably going to come from that documentary as well. So if you maybe haven't seen that, maybe now's a good time to pause this, go watch it, and come back and listen to us. So Willie, just throw a name out there from this.
Let's start with Brando. Let's just go there. I'm going to start with Brando. I think it's important to just get the get this out of the way, right? Marlon Brando is the reason why this movie got the budget it got, right?
Yes. And he was the reason why people like Bruce Willis, James Woods, and even Kilmer, I think, at the beginning wanted to work on this picture and work with him. Yeah. Yeah.
People didn't want to work with Richard Stanley unless we were Fruza Balk, who seemed very infatuated with.
Yes, she liked him quite a bit.
As an artist.
Fruza Balk, I can also see, I can see how she would be drawn to him as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
But by and large, Brando was not brought in. Nobody wanted Brando to be brought in terms of, except for Mike DeLuca, apparently.
Was it DeLuca? Because he'd worked with him on Don Juan DeMarco.
And Bob Shea was very hesitant. He was he was a nightmare on that movie. Why would you?
That movie was well received, though, right? Because that was
Brando's pretty good in that movie,
too.
Yeah. Faye Dunaway, Marlon Brando, Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp, yep.
Fun movie, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of good. I mean, I don't know how it ages, but
that was prime Johnny Depp, I think.
For me, it was.
Yeah, I like that. That's the era of Johnny Depp that I like the best.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yes, Benny and June, a lot of that. Yep. But the thing with Brando was, from a business perspective, is yes, Brando's a name, but Brando doesn't draw box office at this time in his career. He was, like you said, he was kind of a joke, in a lot of ways.
He become like Fat Elvis, he was Fat Brando.
Yes.
And some of that is kind of tragic because his daughter committed suicide a few years earlier, right? It's kind of
No, this was she did as they were shooting.
As they were shooting, okay.
So yeah, I'll mention that. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
But Brando was not necessarily a draw for audiences, but Brando was a draw for talent, and could get somebody like a Willis or a Kilmer that would then bring in box office. So Brando's the reason why this project ballooned into what it became, essentially, in a lot of ways. For good or bad, it's he was a big cause of it. The problem with Brando was he had a disdain for Hollywood at this point, which is really funny that he kept making movies despite the fact that there was almost this weird. I think you've all heard the term quiet quitting at this point.
Yes.
Where
a Gen Z term.
Yes.
Originated by Marlon Brando.
Yes. On the set of The Island of Dr. Moreau. Yes. Where you continue to do the thing that you hate to do, work-wise, but you do it but you try to make it as difficult as possible for the people in charge as you can to make them miserable. To get a little bit of joy out of it.
There's a couple. I'm going to use a couple sports things today because I have in my head. Basketball player named Jimmy Butler this year was playing for the Miami Heat. He did not want to play for the Miami Heat, so he became as disruptive as possible.
Nice.
And we've seen athletes do this throughout time. They'll stop showing up to practices. He'll get in fights with teammates, stuff like that. It's same. You see it, and this is something you see in any business. Any form of entertainment. Hollywood is not excluded from this. Sports is a thing too, where huge egos are at play at all times. Yes.
Yeah. And despite the fact that Marlon considered himself like an artist and a civil rights pioneer and all these things, Marlon had an ego. Marlon was Marlon, and Marlon was had an inflated ego, and. He basically, it sounds to me, based on everything I've seen, heard through this documentary and through quotes, that basically, he found joy in making this production as difficult as humanly possible at any time he could do it. But I will say this. It's a memorable performance.
to be fair, some of the stuff he does is really fucking funny.
I mean...
when he's in the movie, when he's like, I want to wear an ice bucket on my head.
It's insane. But it kind of works.
Well,
there's an eccentric doctor, like this guy who's been cast out from society.
Yes, an eccentric doctor. And here's where some of the thematic stuff does actually come into play here is... he essentially thinks he's a god amongst men.
Yes.
And gods can do whatever they want.
Including wearing ice buckets on their head.
Including saying, I want this little person in every scene with me. Like, he's like, by mini-me, like, including saying, I hate the sun. I'm just going to paint myself all white.
Yeah, including not reading the script at all.
So, like,
and having your assistant read.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Because that was the thing, is he painted himself white so, like, he could have a stand-in in some of these scenes, right?
It's So there, I rewatched Val, which is a documentary about Val Kilmer, on it's on Amazon. Mm-hmm. It's worth a watch if you haven't seen it. It's fantastic.
I haven't seen it yet. Yeah,
it's really great. And there's a section on Moreau, specifically, and there are interactions between David Thewlis and Val Kilmer, where they're both going, is that Marlon? And it's the big scene where he's in the big chariot, right? Where he makes his...
Yeah.
And
kind of like the Pope Mobile, right? Is what
yes. And David Thewlis is like, that is not Marlon. And so Kilmer starts to get, like, he's holding a handheld. He's like, what's your name, pal? And he's like, Bob. The guy that's like standing in. And like they're just like, so Marlon's not here. Like, just unbelievable stuff. I mean, really, really insane stuff. But it was all to screw with the Hollywood system and also make some money while he was doing it.
Mm-hmm. And to be fair, like we said, some of it kind of works.
Some of it kind of works, yes. I would agree. Because it's a memorable performance, for better or worse. Like, it's not a bad performance.
No.
It's weird. I'm not sure what we're going for sometimes. But it kind of... It's funny because, like, when Marlon needs that... Like, when he has the big dramatic... death scene, essentially, like prior to his death scene. I think he's pretty good in that sequence, like his kind of bargaining and like his, and then that moment when he presses the button, he kind of looks like, I've got you now, like I'm still God, and then realizes, holy shit, I'm gonna die. And it's pretty good stuff.
That's the thing. What I kind of meant about all the talented people, like there's still a lot of talent on this on the screen. Yes, like these are super talented people. Like,
and they're all bringing it. It's just,
but we don't know what they're.
The circumstances are. Yeah. Anyway, I like Marlon in this movie. I don't blame anybody who did not like him making this movie. Mm-hmm. But it's funny because he's a big strength for the finished product, in my opinion. Because once he's gone from the film, it's the first blow where I start to get kind of out of it.
Me too. Yep.
I'm not completely out of it until Kilmer's gone.
Yep.
But that's the first blow where I go, man, already? Like, it's kind of having fun watching this guy. Like, so he's a benefit to the finished film, but he's also a large part of why the finished film is what it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no.
A blessing and a curse, I guess?
I can think of like plenty of examples too of like not just movies, but like other things where I'm like, yeah, I know, like that was probably a debacle. He's probably an awful person to work with, but damn if it wasn't fun to watch. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
yeah, like sucks to have dealt with him, I'm sure, but yeah.
All right. Who next? Name someone off. We're going to say Val for last.
Yes. Fairuza Balk, I want to talk about her at least briefly. Yeah. Like, she doesn't get a lot to do in this.
I've always liked her.
I've always liked her. Yeah. Striking, like, just like, you look at her and you're like, whoa.
I liked her in The Waterboy.
Yeah, she's great.
Vicky Valancourt.
American History X, fantastic. Yeah, I like Fairuza Balk a lot. The Craft, of course. She doesn't get a lot to do here. She's very underserved.
She has a scene with Brando where she's bad, and I've already said that I liked her a lot, and I think she's a good actress. But like, she's bad in the scene, and it's kind of like I kind of went like it kind of just seems like everybody's rubbing off at each other at this point.
I don't think she had a whole lot to work with probably at that point, because she's great in everything I've seen her in. So, and the script doesn't do her any favors here, and I don't know how much of this was Richard Stanley's story and how much was kind of changed and altered. My understanding is that her role was kind of diminished as people got their hands in it. It sucks for her because her character never really gets. There's moments where you start to see what the kind of the purpose of her character is in terms of like being the focal point of these creations of Moreau, trying to struggle with what they are, right? What their place in the world is. But the problem is you have so much of that that's pretty strong from the hyena character and from other characters that you don't really need her for that.
Right.
And then she kind of hovers this weird line where she's kind of a romantic interest, but not enough to like really be one.
Mm-hmm.
And then she just kind of dies, which a lot of people in this movie do. They just kind of die.
Yeah.
So I like Fairuza Balk. I don't think that this movie does her any favors. And she's kind of
disappeared from acting.
Yeah.
A little bit too.
She's kind of wasted in this movie.
Yeah.
So.
I kind of miss her presence.
Yeah.
Just because, she was coming up around this time. She was, she would go into a couple things, but yeah, she kind of fell out of acting, and I think a lot of it had to do with parts like this.
I heard she popped up in the Craft remake, though.
She did. I did not see the Craft remake though, but I do know she popped up in it. I think she's very sympathetic. Towards Richard Stanley. In the documentary, and she's an integral part in that documentary too.
Yeah. She's great in the documentary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man. Okay. David Thewlis. I want to make sure we talk about him. It's a weird performance. It's funny because like he has to play like the straight man, right?
Yeah.
And I could see like a Rob Morrow from Northern Exposure, or even a Willis playing the straight man in this movie, opposite somebody like James Woods or whoever. Thewlis was like a last-minute addition, and if any performance kind of shows the insanity of what was happening behind the scenes, like bleeding into somebody's like personality, it's Thewlis' performance, because he's like weirdly unhinged in this movie.
Yes.
And I think it was just him being really freaking tired and
kind of not. He wasn't getting along with it because he didn't get along with Val real well, from what I gather. Some of it too, and like I brought it up at the beginning, but he's like, "Look at these people! Look at him!" He's like really high pitched, and I swear there's one scene where he's with Val. I think it's with a Brando impression, and you can kind of see him like start to break. Like he's just like kind of like laughing. Like it seems to be like he's about to start laughing.
Yes, yeah. I think he was just like.
He's just like,
I got to get through this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I like David Thewlis a lot.
I do too. Yeah.
He's doing what he can.
He's doing what he can. There are times when he works well as a straight man, but I'm with you. He does seem kind of harried and flustered a lot of the time too.
A lot of the time. Which kind of works for the character in some ways, but yeah, he becomes almost as unhinged as some of the other performances, and I go, would have been nice to have him be a little bit more straight-laced, I guess. Just like ground the movie a little bit. I mean, there's some other performances. I mean, Mark DeCascos.
I heard DeCasco, yeah.
He plays Lomai, the cheetah guy. Cheetah guy's cool as hell.
Yeah, the animals are sweet. Ron Perlman is this too.
As the sayer of the law. Yeah, he's sweet. There's some great.
I wish there was a little more of that stuff. Yeah,
I do too. Yeah, more focus on some of them and the civilization, like the underground stuff like that.
Yeah.
Tamora Morrison plays kind of a cool, weird dog guy.
Yeah.
With dreads, he's cool. They're all fine. They all do. I mean,
I think the stars of that are the Winston designs, the character designs and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. The actor who plays who's also passed away. The actor who plays the hyena. That's a tough role, I think. Because that hyena is kind of like the crux of the animal kind of revolution or the movement or whatever, and like it's pretty damn good. Like he balances between the animalistic and like feeling really human and sad. Even that last scene with Marlon before he like rips his throat out and tears his arm off, which is hilarious, in a hammock. Marlon's like, I'm just gonna lay here. So sweet. He requested that. Like,
yo, for sure.
I'd like to lay down. Just... it was not him getting torn apart in that.
No, that was his assistant.
But he wanted to lay down the hammock a lot.
Absolutely, sure. Yeah.
There's a shot in Val coming up to him with his handheld and chatting with Marlon. And Marlon goes, "Give me a push."
He makes him push him in the hammock.
Yes,
fucking amazing.
Multiple times.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And I think Val Kilmer's first question, he goes, "What's your favorite childhood memory, Marlon?" And then he goes, "Give me a push."
I kind of hope that they find someday someone decides to take Val's home footage, all of it from this movie, and just edit it to some like 20 hours.
He recorded everything.
Yeah.
That's what's great about that Val movie is, I mean, like he recorded everything.
Yeah.
There's footage from Top Gun behind the scenes that like he shot on a hand, because he even says at the beginning of the documentary, he goes like, I was like the first person I ever knew to own a handheld camcorder, and there's some good stuff in there. There's some good stuff in there. Anyway, you should watch it.
I should. Let's talk about some behind the scenes now. I think we're through the actors, right?
Except for Val. Right?
We'll say Val.
Richard Stanley.
I want to talk about Richard Stanley and John Frankenheimer.
The two directors. Yes, I think they're important.
This is not our first John Frankenheimer movie, by the way.
We talked about The Prophecy.
We talked about Prophecy.
A classic.
A movie I like quite a bit.
One of the great kills in film history. So we did touch on Richard Stanley, right? A visionary type director, somebody who was definitely in over his head. There's a lot of weird rumors about him on this film, that he like climbed a tree on day 4 and like wouldn't come out or something. I don't know. I'm like watching him be interviewed. I'm like, maybe he did. I don't.
So he has that great line. What was it like? I got kicked out, so I resorted to witchcraft.
Yeah, so when Marlon came on board with the film, like when Marlon was like the studio, he wanted Jürgen Prochnow as Moreau, who would have been great, I'm sure. Yeah. But the studio's like, we got Marlon. Yeah. And as soon as they announced Marlon as being cast, they were essentially going to give the movie to Roman Polanski, another troubling person that we bring. Man, this is a weird theme.
Yeah.
And Richard Stanley was like pissed when he heard this. Obviously, he had written the script, he wanted to direct, and so he like hired like a witch doctor to like save this meeting he was going to have with Marlon Brando. And there's a whole watch the documentary. It's great. But there's this whole thing about how like this witch doctor's like spell went awry, and like people were like struck by lightning, and like planes were almost downed, and like torrential downpours when there normally weren't any. All sorts of crazy stuff. Yeah. Marlon Brando's daughter passed away like right as they were entering principal photography. No one knew if he was going to show up to the set.
Right.
Val Kilmer, who we'll get into, he was sent divorce papers on set. All sorts of just zany, crazy stuff happening. Yeah.
And the witchcraft line is in the documentary that I brought up. I don't remember the exact wording of it, but it's fine because I will never do it justice the way he delivers it. It's incredible delivery by him in the documentary. So I wanted to say this though too.
The witch doctor's name was like Buck or like Spike or something. It's really funny, yeah.
He doesn't go. So okay, here comes like my other two sports. So the first one I'll go with here is we talked about a lot of egos on this set. And it takes a certain personality type. So, Phil Jackson, the NBA coach, one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Yeah.
And Phil Jackson wasn't necessarily the greatest accidental guy. He had assistant coaches that were very good at that. But what Phil Jackson could do is he could manage the most insane egos that you could possibly manage. And that is professional sports superstar. Michael Jordan on those Bulls teams. So Phil Jackson coached the 90 Chicago Bulls that won 6 championships. Michael Jordan,
the greatest dynasty ever in the history.
Yes. Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and then later Dennis Rodman. Michael Jordan, if you've ever watched The Last Dance, you should. It's a great documentary. But
it's so good.
Yeah.
Even if you don't care about basketball.
Yeah.
Because I don't not care about basketball, but I've never followed it to, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah.
And he is a psychopath, Michael Jordan, and not like he's going to kill you away, but like he is actually just like a completely tunnel focused, like just insane person. And like he will make up stuff to hate somebody, and that's like the actions of a crazy person. Dennis Rodman is Dennis Rodman. I think most people know Dennis Rodman, but well, maybe not at this point, but he was very flamboyant. He was a bit of he had some things in common with Brando and Val at the time too.
Yes.
Like very much a shit stir, just to stir shit. Scottie Pippen had an ego as well. So, but what Phil Jackson, and then later Phil Jackson would coach the Shaq and Kobe Lakers. Also,
yes,
major egos on these people. But what he could do is he could get these people to work together for 4 12-minute quarters and put aside all of their personality types and get them to do that. Not everybody is built that way. That is a special skill that I will never have, and that Richard Stanley will never have. No. And that's okay. Like, Richard Stanley is just... But that is why you need the people with the money to step in and go, hey, do your job and help this poor guy out.
And they were in this remote area of Australia, and
Right.
no one was going to fly out to help him.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was just hands off while these egomaniacs ran roughshod over this poor guy. And yeah, maybe looking back on it, there are certain things he could have done differently, but like, he's not that guy. You see it in this interview. He's like a sensitive, artistic soul guy.
Yeah.
Like,
how was he going to wrangle Marlon Brando and this version of Val Kilmer?
Absolutely. Like, those guys are
along with the weather and the remoteness of the whole thing was just a cocktail of...
Yes, it was never... He was in so far over his head, but that's where you need a structure behind this guy to help him out. And I feel bad for him in this movie.
Like a Kevin Feige. Right?
Yeah.
When I was talking about the Marvel stuff,
Yeah.
and like that kind of guy being on set for this would have helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they didn't have that. They had, I mean, Mike DeLuca, who seems absent. He seems absent. And it's funny. So I texted you this.
Apparently he was laughing about what was going on. Like he took some joy in what was going on.
So DeLuca kept coming up in this documentary. I texted you on this too, but like I'm like, fucking Mike DeLuca. Where do I know that name from?
Yeah.
And then I was like, screw around, and I go, oh my God, this is the guy that was going to get fired from WBD. Well, I think just Warner Brothers Pictures, actually. He's in charge. He and someone else are in charge of Warner Brothers Pictures because they had that string of bombs, and then Minecraft movie and Sinners hit. But like when I think about stuff like Joker 2 that bombed, I kind of like look at that and go, man, some of this sounds similar to what happened on this. Now, Todd Phillips, completely different case. Like he's a much more, but like also it seems like he had a lot of free reign on that movie, and too much free reign. And there is such a thing when that happens. Yeah. So I went, man, Mike DeLuca certainly doesn't seem like he's just kind of failed up in some ways, from what I can tell. So anyway, now that brings me to John Frankenheimer. Now, by all accounts, including some of the accounts in the documentary, Frankenheimer can be a bit of a prick.
So they described him as like one of the last old school Hollywood directors that was around at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And but he was noted for having come into movies mid production and fixing it.
Yes.
Like getting everybody in line and like getting the movie in on budget, on time. Like he was kind of a fixer.
You look at his in a lot of his movies, especially before this, where I mean, he was big in the '60s. Manchurian Candidate, Birdman, Alcatraz are a couple of them. Yeah. So he had kind of fallen off by this point too. But yeah, they brought him in, and so here's the thing: he's brought in, and he's I do have a little bit of sympathy for him as well.
Totally different beast than Stanley.
Yes.
Like the opposite.
Yes, yeah. And he's brought in the middle of this, and he's basically doing it to just say like, "Hey, I'll do this, but you got to give me three pictures. Like, you got to give me a deal for after this," and that's fine too. I just like, and they say he kind of gave up in shooting. The thing is, with these egos, if he were on this from the start, I actually think he would have been able to get something out of these people.
Yes,
I think he would have been able to corral them.
It was too far gone.
It was completely too far gone, and he was brought in. He kind of probably saw this 2 days in and went, I'm going to do this. I'm going to finish it, and I'm going to get out of here.
There's bits in that Val documentary, and I'll keep mentioning that, like where you can hear Val talking to Frankenheimer, and they did not get along. I mean, like bad.
Right.
And where Frankenheimer was like, "I'm leaving. I'm done. I can't do this." And like for him to say that, like this veteran, like
who
it had to be bad.
Who has, I'm sure, worked with his fair share of people he didn't get along with. So that's all I wanted to say is I think like to corral these people, from the start, if he would have been on it from the start, it probably would have worked better. It's just
I'm sure he was
this thing
prick.
was off the rails.
I'm sure
for sure.
I'm sure he pissed people off, but that's kind of what he was hired for.
Yes, yeah. And you know what? Sometimes you need to prick with people like this, like, especially people in the mindset that the stars were in.
These maniacs.
Yes. Yeah. So that's all I wanted to say. Richard Stanley, as I mentioned, did finally return. He hasn't done anything.
I'm glad he's got some stuff going.
I'm happy he was able to make that movie. It felt good. I believe, is it Dust Devil?
Yes.
I believe Joe Bob did it a few years back. And that's good. And then, of course, Hardware. But he's a guy who I wish would have been more prolific because I think he has a lot of interest. Like,
he wants to do Dr. Moreau?
Does he?
We'll see.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. All right, so then let's do just a couple of quick things before we talk about Val too. Is there were so thematically, we talked about a little bit. It's about the kind of science gone wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Those mid 90s, I would say, that kind of boom. before we get into the kind of I think where the slashers take over a little bit. With
This was like disaster movies and Science Gone Wrong were like the big.
Yeah, very much a throwback. You know what? X-Files was big around this time too. So it's very much a throwback to like the 1950s in some ways.
100%.
But then like there's stuff like the Human Genome Project was big, like that was going on around this time, and that would lead to kind of questions about morality, genetic modification, like how far do you take that? Stuff like remember Dolly the sheep, the clone of Dolly the sheep. So there's a little bit of that at play here, but it's not enough to chew on, I don't think, in some ways in the movie.
It gets lost in the weird lambast and just like the bombast, I should say.
Right.
It's the weirdness of the
And then I did want to mention too, I did read the book, and it is a very quick read. It's probably like I listened to it. It's about 3.5, 4 hours long. The writing, it's just like I listened to it and then I watched the movie and I'm like, because I was going to do a book to movie thing, and it's just like, it's not worth it because the book is so straightforward in its prose and its narrative that it's just like, the differences are like, this is just a weird ass movie.
But it hits the main beats though, right?
It does hit the main beats.
Like Moreau does bite it kind of halfway through, doesn't he?
The main beats are the same, but there's stuff like in the book Moreau is like very much a scientist, like, but in the movie he's kind of like a cult leader. So it's like it's a different. Yeah. The book is more. I think the movie kind of delves more into the religious side of things, whereas the book is very much in the way of its time, like, hey, like, what if science goes too far? And that's kind of the thing. But it's very straightforward. H.G. Wells is kind of a very scientific writer anyway, as it is. I mean, he's a sci-fi writer too, but his language is very scientific as well. So I do think it's worth a read. I do think this regarded classic is worth a read if you.
Check it out.
You should check out the island. You should check out some H.G. Wells.
Read Clown at Cornfield first. But I like that.
I think what I meant was,
I know.
If you watch this movie, reading the book will also fill in some blanks. Is kind of how I meant that. All right, Willie. Let's talk about Val a little bit. The main event. You kick us off. Yep.
Yeah. So look, Val is very similar to Brando in this movie for me in terms of. He is part of what, for me, he's part of what saves the finished product, but he's also part of what caused a lot of issues that led to the finished product. It's weird. Val's in a weird position with this movie because he's not playing at this point. Like he was a bona fide movie star. Like he was Batman. When you play Batman, you're a movie star. Like that's to me. Like if you're Batman or Bond, you've become a movie star. Those are two of like those roles that once you get cast in them, you are a movie star. Yeah. What you do with it at that point is kind of up to you. Like how long you can maintain that is up to you. But you are like a made man.
Yeah.
And for him to be in a role like this, which is this weird kind of supporting role, he's an antagonist, I think. Mostly his role is just kind of there. He's not our hero. He's not our male lead. That's Thewlis, who is not Kilmer. And by that I mean like David Thewlis is like he's not like this like good looking like kind of hero type, you know. So you got Kilmer who's more that type, who's playing this weird like drugged out hippie kind of guy. Who,
a little bit of elements of his Jim Morrison in there.
Yeah. Who has a weird kind of like ambiguous backstory of like he was a scientist or not. It's a bizarre role for somebody of Kilmer's like standing at this point in time.
Yeah.
It's very strange. When I watch like A Ghost in the Darkness, I go, yeah, that makes sense for Kilmer. Like here's this rising star who's like really broken in. He's kind of underneath Michael Douglas's wing a little bit, who's a guy who had done that a decade before. That makes sense. This one, I go, what are we doing? Like, how did this, you know? And I have to wonder how much of Kilmer's antagonistic qualities. I think it's a mixture, right? I think most explanations for things tend to be kind of a cocktail of thoughts you're having about why. And in this case, I think it was a mixture of all the crap that was happening with leadership behind the scenes with Stanley, the switch to Frankenheimer, so on and so forth. Kilmer getting served divorce papers on set probably wasn't great.
No.
Kilmer being a method actor.
Yeah, that's another
help.
thing with it we haven't mentioned yet either. Yeah.
Yeah, here he is playing this kind of like weird, laissez-faire kind of like, whatever. You know, I'm just here to just enjoy the chaos. He's kind of playing that character. Like, he's popping LSD and, like, giving it out to, like, animal people in this movie. And, like I said, watching animal people orgies and stuff, like nonchalantly. That's kind of the character he's playing.
If you're there and the animal people are having orgies, you're probably going to watch
Check it out. I'm not saying no. I don't know that.
See what it's all about.
I don't know that I'd partake.
Yeah, no.
He doesn't, to be fair, in this.
I guess it depends on how long I've been there.
Yeah, I don't know. Bears got to eat. But you wonder. I do wonder if some of that is the method stuff. You know, him being a little bit. I want to stay in that character. He did it on The Doors. He did it on Tombstone, largely, is my understanding. He did it on Top Gun.
Yeah.
He sectioned himself and his guys away from Tom Cruise and from Anthony Edwards. This is something he did like way early on in his career. So I think it's just a kind of that cocktail of things that led to him being
a cocktail, another Tom Cruise.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
that led to him being difficult to work with, and then being labeled as difficult to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, like, this is a movie in a lot of ways that I think would like hurt his career.
Yes.
This film and dropping from Batman.
Because then The Saint came out after, but I remember he had a lot of stink on him during The Saint, and I think a lot of it had to do with this movie and some of the stuff on Batman, like him dropping off from Batman at the time,
yes.
too.
Now, mind you, did Batman and Robin turn out to be some sort of no, but it made a lot of money, and it would have. Did it hurt Clooney's career?
No,
no. It didn't hurt anybody in that movie's career.
It might have hurt Schumacher. No, Schumacher went on to make
he
stuff
bounced
after.
back.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So, you know, this was a big part of it, and
he did it. So yeah, right. Because after this, he would do The Saint, then he kind of fell off a little bit, didn't he? He did. Was he in?
He did At First Sight with Mira Sorvino. I think
was that after this?
I think it was after this. I'm fairly certain.
Because then in the 2000s, like I've got it here, and he's doing like Knight Rider on NBC. That like remember the Knight Rider reboot?
Yep.
He did Spartan, the David Mamet movie, and I remember him getting some praise for that. Yeah.
He did Salton Sea, which had quite a bit of critical buzz.
Yeah, he started to go back to doing smaller stuff.
Yes. Wonderland he did.
Wonderland, thank you. Yeah. John Holmes, was that John Holmes?
Yes. He did Wonderland, which had some buzz behind it. So, later on, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Right.
So he certainly had some longevity in his career, but he was not a movie star anymore.
And maybe that's
in that traditional.
Maybe that he never should have been that. You know what I mean?
I'm not sure he should have.
Yeah. You look at him and you go, "Oh, that's a movie star. That's a leading man," but that wasn't him necessarily.
No, and when you watch, so again, I go back to the documentary that he made. He talks about how, like, when he got the call for Batman, he was like, "Oh my God, like this is, I mean, like this, I'm gonna be Batman."
Yeah.
It doesn't get bigger than that at this point in Hollywood, and then he talks about, like, I got on set and it was nothing like I dreamed of as a kid when I wanted to be Adam West. Like, it was the worst experience I could possibly.
Yeah.
Here I like, he says, like, I'm an actor who really wants to, like, live in this role of Bruce Wayne and Batman, and I'm stuck in this rubber suit. I can't turn my head. I can't emote. And I'm watching Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones get to do all this fun stuff as actors and get to, like, explore, be zany and have a good, and I can't do anything.
It's funny. I really like his Batman. I really like his Bruce Wayne.
I do
like
too.
That movie. Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
So for what it's worth, Val, I think we both agree you did a good job.
A lot of the ego clashes seem to be between the villains on that, like Tommy Lee Jones and I will not
Kilmer's
sanction your
kind of
buffoonery. Yes. Yes.
But so it's interesting. I don't think he was ever intended to be that guy.
No, I don't. Yeah.
And luckily we got some really like late era Kilmer stuff or later era Kilmer stuff like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which was.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention his role as Dieter Van Kant in MacGruber.
He's great.
Yes, yeah, he's very funny. But that's a comedic role, and he's a funny guy. Yeah.
I mean, his first. So we're just in Val territory now. I think so
too.
We've shared
a lot
our
of what
thoughts
I've had
Moreau.
to say. Yeah. I did want to bring up Moreau.
Throw out whatever you want.
There is one moment. Well, there are a lot of moments, but there's one moment that made me laugh out loud in his performance, and he's Thulis is in like a shack or something, and Val throws open like kind of a garage door to discover, and the way he throws it open is so theatric, and so like I'm just fucking around here, like I'm just like doing this. I laughed so hard at just like his facial expression and everything in that scene because it is very much like I'm just gonna screw around.
I'm just goofing. Yeah.
So that was the only thing I think that I haven't brought up that I wanted to bring up about Val's performance.
Excellent. Him opening the garage door or whatever it was.
Yes.
But no, for Val, like, so my first exposure to Val Kilmer was Batman Forever.
Yeah.
I maybe had seen him in something before, but
Top Gun?
I did not see Top Gun until a little bit later.
Yeah, I would watch Top Gun a lot when I was young. Yeah.
Okay.
I played the NES video game, but anyway.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Not great, but all right.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like exposed more to him as an actor who was able to kind of I liked him at Batman, but then he kind of dropped out, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess it's Clooney now. And I never liked George Clooney as a kid. I always thought my mom thought he was the hot guy.
Yeah, my mom was like, she was in the ER, and I think it was because of George Clooney. I think my dad was like quit watching ER. Keep watching. Quit. You're just watching it for George Clooney.
Yeah, Clooney. And
but maybe she liked it. Everybody likes it. ER was a good show, though. I mean,
good show. Yeah. But as I kind of progressed through, getting more exposed to movies and kind of things that were off the beaten path, not the make Hollywood stuff, I was introduced to Real Genius, which was Kilmer's, not his first film. That would be Top Secret, which is
Top Secret Abram Zucker movie? Is it like a?
I'll
look it up real quick.
I do believe it started as a National Lampoon project, I think, and it was not. I think, and it did not wind up getting that label for some reason. But it's a goofy.
Yeah, it's David Zucker, Jim Abrahams,
yeah.
Jerry Zucker. Yeah,
it's
same guys that did like Airplane and all those. Yeah.
Spy spoof thing. Yep. It's fine. But my first exposure was Real Genius, which was if you've not seen Real Genius, it rules. I think it's still kind of phenomenal. And Kilmer is so good in that movie, and at that point I was a fan, and I went on to watch Tombstone, which I think is his best his best performance. Tombstone is my favorite Western of all time. It's and Kilmer is so good as Doc Holliday in that movie. Like, I don't know. Like, it's one of my favorite performances, period, in film. And I just followed him more and more and kind of got more into his stuff. I think Ghost in the Darkness is a movie I like a lot. I know it's not loved, but I like the movie quite a bit. I'm a big Kilmer fan, and I'm happy that there was an outpouring about his passing the way there was.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that he did get kind of those labels of hard to work with, not the nicest guy in the business, so on and so forth. And those very well could have been deserved. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But Heat and
so
there's so many movies.
I'm going to put you on the spot here because I'm going to do mine too. Do you have a favorite Val Kilmer performance?
It's definitely Tombstone. No
Doc
question.
Holliday.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he's just. It's next level stuff that he's doing in that movie. Yeah. How about you?
All right. So with Val, I probably, because I just went over I'm going over his filmography just to, and it would have been. Top Gun would have been where I first saw him, probably, because I watched Top Gun a lot as a kid. Because I had a younger uncle, I should say, that was only a few years older than me, and he would play the video game and we watched the movie together.
That's rad.
Yeah, and like Top Gun's Top Gun. It's kind of ingrained in.
He's in the sequel, isn't he?
Yeah, and honestly, it's a good capper on everything. I think it's a really nice moment.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I've heard it's good.
It got me in the theater. It didn't like get me. It like got me. Like it affected me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But the other movie too that I had actually forgotten about is Willow. I watched.
Oh my God!
Willow
How did I not mention Willow? Dude, Mad Mardigan. Holy smokes!
I was a big fan of. Willow and a kid. I have not seen it in a long time, but I wore that VHS out as a kid. And like I was going over it and like, man, I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? That's probably where I fell in love with Val Kilmer.
Dude, I'm so happy you mentioned that. That's up there too. Like that's a big one. Yeah.
Yes.
He's so good in that movie. He is the closest we ever got to like a Han Solo. I feel like outside of like the Harrison Ford performance, like that Mad Mardigan performance is so Han Solo, so naturally. Like
yes,
yeah, love it.
A couple of other ones I wanted to mention here. So you talked about he's in. So The Saint I talked a little bit about. It's a summer blockbuster that I went and saw by myself.
Nice.
As a 13-year-old, I think I went and saw it by like I may have gone. You know what? No, I think someone went with me. I can't remember if they went. For some reason, I remember being in the theater alone by myself. So either they went to a different movie.
I remember the movie being kind of boring, but I don't know if
it's not great. But it's one that I do remember. I should mention The Doors a little bit. I actually am not a huge fan. He's good in it. The thing is, I don't like Jim Morrison.
I don't like Jim Morrison. I don't like Oliver Stone when he's celebrating individuals.
Yes, that's fair. I like Oliver Stone movie. Around this time period. It is, yeah. I don't like it. It's a great performance. There's a lot to read about with that one too. That maybe isn't the best, but
it's a little icky. I don't think Jim Morrison was a very good dude. Like,
right,
and it's icky to feel like it's a celebration. Like,
I don't like. Anyway, I just wanted to bring it because I do think it was one of his.
He's great. Yeah,
yeah, and it was one of his finest performances. My favorite. I did mention MacGruber. I just love MacGruber. Period.
Yeah, we all know you
guys.
love MacGruber.
Yeah, they do. They have some stories about working with him too, but it's not like bad stories. But they're like, there's a part in the movie where basically they're like, MacGruber tells him he's going to shove a dick into his mouth, his own dick. He's going to cut off his dick and put it in his mouth. And they were going to show it, I think. I can't remember how they do it. I was like, I'm not doing that. And he just said it, and the way the Lonely Island guy said it is very funny. Batman Forever we talked about too. I actually think he's not my favorite Batman. That's Keaton, but Keaton will always be my Batman.
Yeah, Keaton's the best, but honestly, Val is probably my second favorite.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to be with you there, too. I wish he would have gotten another crack at it.
Yeah, it's tough because
he's a more interesting actor, period, than Clooney to me, and I would have just liked to. Clooney was like the fan casting of Batman.
He's a more interesting than Keaton, too, actor, I think.
Maybe. I don't know. Keaton's
great.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
I don't think he gets it, but I think if he had a chance to either shine in a movie that was a little bit more Batman focused, I think we'd see a little bit more. Yeah.
So but my all-time favorite performance.
Oh man,
maybe my all-time. I'm going to be honest with you. This might have creeped into my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Gay Perry.
And it's Gay Perry. Yep. And this, looking back on this is such a redemption in a lot of ways for, I think him a little bit, but also Shane Black at the time, and maybe most. I don't want to say
Downey.
Portly. It was Downey too. It was kind of his redemption story too.
But like this 80s boys. Like.
Yeah, three 80s boys who went through their issues. All of them having very similar personality types in a lot of ways too. Yep. But I think he's legitimately incredible. I think this is an all-time great comedic performance.
He's so funny.
And you know what? Like you mentioned, and it kind of makes sense to me. Like the people, like Schumacher didn't get along with him famously. Richard Stanley, but the people that that I've seen stand up for Val are so off the top. Kurt Russell did when he worked with him too.
Big time.
Yeah, he stood up for him too. Shane Black has stood up for him as well. And I look at these three guys and I go, yeah, you know what? They seem like on the same wavelength. As there's a jockishness to them, all of them.
There's an old school tough guy.
Yes,
not a tough guy, but not even rough around the edges. I don't know. Thick skin.
But Shane Black is the kind of guy who I like. It makes sense to me that he was able to get that kind of performance out of Kilmer, and would like see where he's coming from a lot of the time too.
Yeah.
So that is probably my, and I do think Maverick, the Top Gun Maverick movie, a movie I quite like. I thought that was a nice capper on everything there too. But
nice.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, absolutely my favorite performance.
Great.
One of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah. Val ruled. Dr. Moreau kind of rules in his own way.
Yes.
And I think it's worth a look. I do want to say, and I think you would totally agree, watching this and Lost Soul kind of back to back are perfect.
Yep.
Have a nice meal break in between.
No.
And then come back and watch Lost Soul and really enjoy the full. Mm-hmm. And Val on Amazon Prime. Definitely
I
worth
need
a
to
watch.
watch that. Yeah.
It is worth it. Yeah, it's an interesting way to kind of do an autobiography, all through kind of footage that he shot himself.
Yeah.
And he's not like, oh, I was great all the time. It's not like that. He explains his side of the story on certain things, but he never says this is the way it was. He just kind of says, this is how I felt at the time, So it's cool. And his son does the narration, which is really nice.
Cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a cool watch. Yeah.
Awesome.
So, thank you, Val.
Rest in peace, Val Kilmer.
We are going to pivot back to the Collector series.
Yes. So we're going to take a little bit of a break. I think we're going to have a week where
a week off.
So we're going to do probably 3 weeks is probably what
we'll see in 3 weeks. Yeah.
We'll see in 3 weeks. But that'll give us a little bit extra time to do the Collector and the Collection.
Because we're going to do a double feature, essentially.
The Collector just popped up on one of the streaming services I have, but I'm sure it's available.
You can find it.
You can rent it, too. I think it's on Paramount Plus now, the Collector.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to revisiting these. We've been kind of in the 60s, 90s.
Yes, I am too. The Collector is on Tubi.
Excellent.
For free, and the Collection is on Plex for free.
Okay.
Which I've used.
Okay.
I have used it because I used it for The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Okay.
There's ads, but
yeah. Oh yeah, I used Fandango for Lost Soul, and Fandango plays the same ad. It's an advertisement right now for Black Bag starring Michael Fassbender. The Stoner very good. It's the same ad over and over. It's awful.
Oh my. And then the Collection is on Amazon Prime.
Perfect. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to do a doubleheader. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, and it's this is going to be fun. I like these two.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was going to say series, but it's not kind of.
Yeah.
I like what the second one does for the first one for me. I like the progression of the.
Okay.
Yeah. Feels very.
We've never talked about these before. Yeah.
I'm excited. Yeah.
Oh, me too.
All right. Awesome.
All right. We'll see you next time. Stay safe and stay scared.
Holy smokes.